All right, sorry about that, everybody. Not really sure what happened there. Of course, it happened just as soon as I got a super, which I feel terribly about. If I don't, I'm gonna allow this to marinate a little bit, and I'll come back to it a couple of times. Adam, if you are in here, or if you missed my message, you just sent a super. I apologize about that. I don't know what happened to the stream. All I saw, I heard my camera click, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, it was just doing the spinning wheel of death. I don't know how it froze. Apologies about that. Um, we're gonna try to keep this moving. Sorry about that because I just got a super and I feel terrible about the fact that of course it shut down as soon as I had that issue. Adam, if you're in here, if you were able to jump over here, um, the question was start Trey McBride, Nico Collins, Cortland Sutton, or James Conner in full PPR. If this is one start, I would play James Conner. It's tough to suggest a tight end over a running back, even though Trey McBride um, is on a heater recently. I would go with the running back. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna pin this. I'm gonna pin this link as a comment on the old stream. See if I can help other folks still try to find this. Sorry about that, everybody. Just need to make sure folks are able to find this. All right. Message pinned. That link is pinned. Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. That's really annoying. I see plenty of questions. I still see the live chat or I still see the chat from the previous stream. So I can answer questions in there as well. It might be easier for y'all to repost. I'm not going to be sure who's in here and who's not. Again, Adam had just dropped a super, which was very kind, and then of course my freaking stream froze out, and I got locked out. I have no idea what happened there. One more time, if and if Adam comes in, feel free to alert, or I'll keep an eye on it because he did just offer up a super. In full PPR between those options, I would go Connor. McBride is a very enticing option. McBride's a really enticing option, but I have a hard time. Suggesting a tight end over a running back. Nico and Sutton are decent wide receiver 2 options. Might be more like wide receiver 3 options this week. Connor is close to a top 15 option at running back. That's the guy that I would rather fire up. That's the guy I would rather fire up. So hopefully Adam was able to get that message. The super was very kind to offer up. My stream doesn't usually randomly just crap out like that, so I'm really not sure what happened. Apologies there. Hopefully Adam was able to get that message. I did also leave a comment in the old chat as well. Technology, man. Technology. It is a pain in the ass sometimes. Okay. With that said, sorry if you didn't get your question answered in the other stream. If it's out of order at this point, it's going to be tough for me to kind of try to match up who was, whose question was where. So I will get to everybody. Sorry for everybody who has to repost their question if I didn't get to it. I think I got to a solid number of them. There were certainly, a good amount more that I hadn't quite gotten to yet. So, let me start moving through these just in case folks start finding this new stream. Trade question: Dell and Ferguson for Pittman in half PPR, but you have Laporta. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. If you can make that happen, Pittman has been fine with Gardner Minshew. He's been fine. You already have Laporta, so you don't really have a need for Ferguson. And Pittman is a pretty strong ups. As awesome as Tank Dell has been, he's been one of the pleasant surprises of the NFL this year. Relative to expectations, but Pittman is, a little bit more of a premium player at his position. I would go with Pittman in that trade, and if you can make that trade happen, I'm okay with that one. I'm okay with that one. Start 2 between Ridley, Freiermuth, Pickens, Samuel, and Godwin. What is the scoring? Ridley is really tough to trust. I don't hate Godwin. It's not a great matchup against San Francisco, but Tampa should be throwing the ball a decent amount. It's half PPR. Higgins has a tough matchup against the Steelers. I don't love that spot, especially since Deontay came back. Freiermuth gives me a little bit of pause in his first game back, especially against this tough defense. And Samuel, Samuel's just not as good of a player as guys like Godwin or Ridley. I think you have to play Ridley and Godwin and hope for the best. Ridley's been frustrating, but it's not a bad matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Godwin, it's not a great matchup against the 49ers, but the Bucs are going to have to throw. They can't run even in favorable matchups, and this is a terrible matchup for the run game. I don't dislike Rachaad White for what it's worth. He should catch enough passes to stay relevant. But I would say play Godwin and Ridley. They are your two most talented players here. Pickens is good, but it's a bad matchup, and he hasn't been the same since Deontay came back. Oh, man, it looks like the live chat went away from the old stream. I was trying to keep an eye on it just in case I noticed any type of pattern for questions being asked, but it looks like YouTube kind of took it away. Man, I feel badly about that super that Adam shared. I hope he saw the answer to my question. I did answer it in the form of a response in the chat, and also I've gone over it a couple of times here. I'm not sure if he's still in here, or I don't know if he found his way in here. I hope he did, or I hope he doesn't. If he hasn't yet, I hope he does eventually. Let me double check to see if I can see anything in the live stream section of my channel, all the channel details that I can see behind. I don't see anything though. Yeah, that's a frustrating one. That's definitely a frustrating one. Bobby, that's very generous of you. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And hello from England. That's pretty, it's pretty cool that the NFL's audience has expanded. More parts around the world. That's awesome. So welcome in. 5-5 in 7th place. That's my exact situation in one of my leagues. This is a team rate. Okay. You have Dobbs. Dobbs has been rock solid. And should continue to be a very good option rest of season, especially when Justin Jefferson comes back. He's certainly playable tomorrow night. He's a low-end QB1, not necessarily a high-end QB1 without Jefferson and on the road, but he's a low-end QB1, so very strong option. Love is fine, I guess, as depth. Assuming if you play in a league where a lot of teams hold quarterbacks, maybe there's not a ton of quarterback options on the waiver wire. Um, it's fine to have two. It's fine to have two options, although Love has been less than stellar recently. Um, Bijan, Swift, White, Jones. I like that. That's a good collection of running backs. You can fire up Swift, you can fire up Rashad White, and you can fire up Aaron Jones this week. Assuming you have two running backs in the flex. Um, you could fire up all three of those guys. Obviously, Bijan's on bye. No, good collection of running backs. Bijan is a little frustrating because of the offense he plays on. Um, and I guess Arthur Smith did give him 22 touches last week. That's great, but you don't expect Tyler Algier to get as much work as he normally gets. Still, Bijan is an RB1 for the rest of the season. Maybe not top 3, but he should be ever RB1 rest of season. Keenan Allen's been excellent this year. Absolutely excellent this year. Hollywood just got his quarterback back, so that's a good development for him. London is up and down because of the quarterback play and the offense he plays in. Not great. Pickens has been hurt a little bit by the return of Deontay Johnson, and the Steelers' offense overall is kind of unimpressive. Watson's had a slow start to this season, and the Packers' offense as a whole hasn't exactly been spectacular. And he's also, he's dealt with. I think he's been on the injury report here and there. He's dealt with he's dealt with some injuries. It's been quiet. It's been a quiet year so far for Christian Watson. I guess he could still turn it around, but not great. McBride and Goddard, rock solid options at tight end. McBride's on a heater and a guy that you can easily fire up while you wait for Goddard to come back. And honestly, depending on how these next few weeks shake out, even when Goddard returns, he might not. I mean, let's see what happens. The NFL is week to week, but McBride looks like an excellent rest of season option with Ertz on IR and the team probably pivoting more to the future. They want to get McBride as much involvement and opportunity as possible, kind of fast track his development a little bit more. So that's a good collection of tight ends, good group of running backs, solid at quarterback. Wide receivers a little thin. If there was a way for you to acquire like a wide receiver upgrade, like if you could turn London and Goddard into a really strong wide receiver, might be a lot. But like if you can get a stud, like don't settle for something, don't settle for anything average. But if you can get like a stud, if there's a top team in your league that has a hole at tight end and could afford to wait on Goddard, maybe you flip Goddard and London for like a big wide receiver upgrade. Try to do a 2-for-1, something like that. McBride has a bye week coming up eventually as well. I think the Cardinals have a late bye this year. They're week 13 or 14. So that's the one thing you would have to figure out a replacement for 1 week. But if you can find a wide receiver upgrade, Allen is really good. Hollywood is solid, but a little up and down. London is up and down because of the quarterback play and the offense. Pickens is up and down because of the offense that he's in. Plus, Deontay came back and kind of capped him a little bit. Watson is struggling along. You're not going to be able to sell him for anything right now. If you could find like one of the top teams in your league who maybe is the best player is one of the top teams in your league the guy who has Mark Andrews or the person who has Mark Andrews? Do they want Dallas Goedert? They have to wait for him, but if they have a top team, they might be able to afford to wait for him to come back and pair him with like Pickens or London to get a really good wide receiver upgrade. I would maybe consider something like that. I wouldn't force the issue with anything necessarily. This is a pretty good team, especially considering it's 14 team. But that would be something I would maybe consider exploring or looking into. On the whole, this is pretty strong. Dobbs is a rock-solid quarterback option. The running backs are good. The tight ends are good. You have a stud at wide receiver in Keenan Allen. I would maybe want to see one more bigger name at wide receiver that you can hang your hat on. But otherwise, I mean, it's good. You're 5-5, but I mean, you're right there. You're right there. I think it's a pretty good team. Pretty good squad. Appreciate the super. Very kind of you. Let me know if you have any other questions. And always good to see fantasy being played, in other parts of the world. I know, Iron is one of my members. He's in, I think he's in the Netherlands. He's somewhere. I think that's where he is. So yeah, it's very cool to see that the game has expanded. Okay, back to the top. Full PPR pick two: Connor, Devontae, Javonte Williams. Connor's got it's a really good looking matchup in Houston. Javonte's got a good looking matchup against the Vikings. Devontae Smith is in a potential shootout against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think in full PPR, I played the wide receiver. I think I played Devontae Smith. There should be a lot of points scored in that Chiefs-Eagles game. The Chiefs are a better defense this year than they have been in years past, but the Eagles' offense is still really, really strong. I think I would play Devontae Smith in full PPR. The matchup is better for Connor, and he doesn't share the backfield as much as Javonte Williams does. Javonte is getting the good touches, the red zone touches, the goal line touches, the one that you want your running back to get. But Connor, I don't think Connor ever comes off the field. It's close. I'm going to give the slight nod to Connor in a great matchup. I'll take those first two names. I'll take Connor and Devontae Smith. I'll take Connor and Devontae Smith. Derrick Henry or Devontae Smith in full PPR. What's Henry been doing recently? It's not the best matchup by the numbers against Jacksonville. They've actually been pretty good against the run, but Derrick Henry, I think, historically kills the Jaguars. He didn't have a great game last week, but he's, for the most part, been Derrick Henry this year. I think you have to go back to him. I think you have to go back to him. Now, this isn't the same Titans team of years past, but sometimes it's good to just chase the history of a matchup. Derrick Henry has destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars in his career. You figure he's got another good chance to come up with some rock solid numbers again tomorrow, even though it's not a good matchup. Devontae Smith in full PPR might be a little bit safer, but it's Derrick Henry. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think you got to play Derrick Henry. Devontae Smith is in a good spot. Expect a lot of points scored between the Eagles and the Chiefs, but I think you got to go Derrick Henry. I know he had a bad game last week, and it's another not good matchup. But I think you got to go Derrick Henry. He hasn't fallen off a cliff this year. He's still been good. He's still been, not every single week, but he has, for the most part, still been Derrick Henry. I do like Devontae Smith this week for what it's worth. I think the Eagles and Chiefs, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. Would I trade Ridley for Javonte Williams? If I'm getting Javonte Williams, I'm getting Javonte Williams. Absolutely. Smash accept. Absolutely smash accept. If you're getting Ridley, then no, keep Javonte. But if you are trading Calvin Ridley and acquiring Javonte Williams, do that trade. Run, don't walk. Go make that trade now. If that is on the table for you, if that is an offer that is on the table, you can turn Calvin Ridley into Javonte Williams. I would absolutely do that. 100%. 100%. Um, Even if you need wide receiver help, that is just a straight up, that is an on paper upgrade right now by, I think, a decent margin. You could figure out if you need more wide receiver depth at a later time. Yes. Trade Calvin Ridley for Javonte Williams. If you can make that happen, do it. Do it. Let's see. Need two running backs between Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, Jalen Warren, or James Cook. And this is full PPR. Um, Aaron Jones is in a beautiful matchup at home against the Chargers. James Cook, tougher matchup against the Jets, although they're not bulletproof. Brian Robinson is in a beautiful matchup against the Giants, and Jalen Warren is in a brutal spot against Browns. I think it's those first two names rather decisively. Aaron Jones and Brian Robinson. That you play those guys. You play those guys. James Cook is solid, but it's not as good of a matchup. And those other two dudes, I think, on a per game basis, especially Aaron Jones at home, I feel a little bit better about. So I'll go Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson definitively. Warren is a good player, but that's a brutal matchup on the road against Cleveland. The only guys I'm playing for the Pittsburgh offense are Deontay. I guess I'm playing Deontay, but he's a wide receiver 3 with almost no ceiling. His floor, it's like maybe he's got a decent floor. It's not going to be a ceiling game for Deontay Johnson. He's a wide receiver 3. Everybody else, I'm kind of like, ugh, not against the Cleveland defense. And Laporta over Kincaid is fine with me. Much better matchup. Laporta over Kincaid is fine with me. Much better matchup. Charbonnet over Ridley. Yeah, see, that's dipping a little too far down for me. I know Ridley's been up and down, but Walker is still the dude for the Seahawks. And Charbonnet has gotten more involved, but Ridley at least is on the field every snap. And this is a beatable matchup. I feel like we say that a lot I feel like we have said that a decent amount for Calvin Ridley this year, but it hasn't come to fruition. It is a pretty good matchup against the Tennessee Titans. It's not a terrible matchup for Charbonnet against the Rams, but he's just not seen enough work. I love him as a stash. I don't want to drop Zach Charbonnet, but he can't be fired up right now as anything other than a low-end flex. I mean, 6 for 44 and 6 for 44 is good. 4 catches for 18 yards, solid, especially considering he's the backup. But Ridley at least is out there every play, and it's a much more beatable matchup. And Charbonnet's floor is lower than Ridley's. I don't think I can go there. If I see Adam in here at all, I will jump the line for him. He did send me a super in the last stream. Unfortunately, the other stream shit the bed. No idea what happened there. Again, apologies, everybody. Adam had just dropped a super just as the stream collapsed. I sent him a chat in the old stream chat, and I've gone over it a couple times. If he's in here, I will jump the line if I see him. He did offer a super in the last stream. Hopefully he's able to find his way back in here if he did not see my note from the previous chat. This is a how do I like the team question. Allen, Swift, Bijan, Stevenson. Pretty good collection of running backs. Ramondre's a little frustrating this year because of how the Patriots are just not good. He's been a little better. He's been better recently. So I guess that's not as bad. CD, Rice, Downs, Palmer, London, McBride, Kincaid. I would be looking for a wide receiver upgrade somewhere if possible. Could you turn Kincaid or who do I like for the rest of the season between McBride and Kincaid? Both are in similar situations. There's a veteran that they are kind of like supplanting. For McBride, it's Zach Ertz. For Kincaid, it's Dawson Knox. Allen is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray. So that makes Kincaid maybe a little bit more interesting because of the quarterback play. I would dangle those two tight ends and see what you can get as far as a new wide receiver. I would see if you can get a new. I would see if you can use one of those tight ends and try to find an upgrade somewhere at wide receiver. On the whole, it's pretty good. You have Allen. You have good running backs. I don't want to trade running back depth unless I'm getting a running back in return. But if you could turn McBride or Kincaid, find a guy, whoever lost Mark Andrews this weekend, whoever's maybe if somebody has Dallas Goedert and they've got a black hole at tight end and they're looking for an answer. If you could turn one of those tight ends into a wide receiver upgrade, I would be good with that. London would be your wide receiver too, but he's inconsistent because of the Falcons offense, which makes me, he's not as reliable week to week as he could be. Bobby, appreciate the second Superman. You did not have to do that, but very kind of you. Rest of season, Michael Wilson, Watson, or Pickens. Michael Wilson certainly gets a boost with Kyler Murray being back. I don't know if I'm ready to put Michael Wilson over these two guys rest of season. However, his situation is better. His situation is better than both of these guys. He's got the best quarterback of Watson catches passes from Jordan Love. Pickens catches passes from Kenny Pickett. Michael Wilson catches passes from Kyler, who is probably not cracking any top 10 lists as far as where people rank their quarterbacks, but you got to have Kyler over Jordan Love and Kenny Pickett. Wilson might be, Watson, I would still say, has the highest ceiling, but he's got the lowest floor. Watson has the highest ceiling, but he's got the lowest floor. And with how uninspiring the Packers are playing on offense, it's tough to say him. These guys are all close. Wilson is not as talented as Pickens or Watson, but I think I like him. These are all guys that are close. They're all wide receiver 4s and 5s at this point, but I think I would go Wilson, Pickens, and then Watson. Watson has the highest ceiling, but it has not materialized for him this year, and this is not a good Packers offense. This is not a good Packers offense. I think I say Wilson and then Pickens and then Watson. Pickens hasn't been great yet, or either with Deontay back, but he's been better than Watson. I guess you could argue Watson ahead of Pickens because Watson should be the team's wide receiver 1, whereas Pickens has kind of taken a backseat to Deontay Johnson. But honestly, Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed are outperforming right now. I'll say Wilson first, Pickens floor, Watson ceiling. I guess I tentatively put Pickens ahead of Watson, but I think Wilson's situation is the best of these three. I think I would put him first. That's wild. It's close. None of these, it's not like a big gap between these three dudes, but I guess above all else, that's a testament to Michael Wilson and decent development so far this year, and his situation is just better than those two guys. Appreciate the other super, Bobby. Thank you. And then Greg, do I like Odell? Again, Greg's a member, so I'm jumping the line for Greg. That is a member perk. I will get to their questions first as I see them, but then I will jump back up to the top. So appreciate everybody's patience And again, hopefully Adam from the previous stream makes his way in here or finds his way in here if he didn't get my other question or didn't get my answer to his question. Do I like Odell now? Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's rounding into form. And obviously now a ton of targets just opened up. As far as rest of season, I don't think I would put Nico at least has his quarterback. Nico at least has his quarterback. Um, and I think Amari Cooper is still too good of a player at this stage of all of these guys' careers to put him over or to put Odell over him. I would still say Odell is third of these three guys. I would still say Amari and then Nico and then Odell. Odell's opportunity has opened up, but I mean, so has Zay Flowers. So has Rashad Bateman. So has Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar. Maybe Lamar runs a little bit more. Maybe Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell get in there a little bit more. As change of pace guys. I just saw Jordan Travis, the quarterback for Florida State, just got injured in a game. That's not a good development. Hopefully he's all right. Florida State is the fourth. They're fourth in the country right now. Hopefully that's okay. Hopefully he's all right. So no. Do I like Odell more now? Yeah, of course. Do I like him more over guys like Amari Cooper and Nico Collins? No. No, I still like those guys more. All right. I got the team rate question. I would look for a potential wide receiver upgrade there and using one of those two tight ends. Full PPR pick two: Mostert, Achane, Ford, Ridley, or Myers. Yeah, I think I'm in agreement there. I think I would play those. I think I would play those Dolphins running backs. I like Ford, but I mean, it's not a, it's not the most inspiring matchup. Um, Going up against the Steelers with a rookie quarterback. I don't love the Cleveland offense tomorrow. I don't love the Cleveland offense tomorrow. So yeah, I think in that situation I would just play the Dolphin running backs. Ridley's very difficult to trust. Myers is impossible to trust. With Aiden O'Connell, I think I would play those two Dolphin running backs. This Clemson game has 3 seconds left, and there are fans storming the field because Clemson is about to beat number 20 UNC by 11 points. No offense to any Clemson fans, but act like you've been there before. You just won a national championship like within the past, 5 years? That's weak. That's weak. I'm sorry. I call shenanigans on that. That's silly. You just won a national champ. I know you're not ranked anymore, but you're still 6-4. You beat number 20 UNC. It's not like you knocked off Ohio State or Michigan or Georgia. Come on now. Act like you've been there before. Because you have been there before. Let's see. Yeah, Joe, I'm good with starting those two Dolphins running backs. Ford, tough matchup. Ridley, tough to trust. Myers, damn near impossible to trust from here on out. You traded away Ford, Downs, and Connor for Diggs and Herbert. Is that Khalil Herbert? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you have him listed with the running backs. Okay. I mean, that's some decent running back depth to have traded away, but I see you have Taylor and Breece Hall, and now you have another bona fide stud at wide receiver in Diggs. Okay. Yeah, you gave up some valuable running back depth, and now you don't have Taylor this week. I don't know who you're starting at running. I guess you're starting Khalil Herbert this week. I would say Herbert is tough to trust this week. I don't know what his role is going to be, but you have to play him because Taylor's on bye. That is a decent amount of running back depth to have given up, but you did get a bona fide stud wide receiver for the rest of the season. I think I'm okay with it. I think I'm all right with that. Yeah. When healthy, you have Taylor, Hall, Kyron, Lamb, Diggs, Olave. Yeah, that's pretty damn good. I'll take that. And Bobby, no to that. No to that trade. No to that trade to receive Higgins. Not absolutely not. Rachaad White looks good, and Higgins has had a bad season, and now Burrow's done for the year. Forget it. There's no way I'm acquiring Higgins for for previous market value. Rachaad White has been on a heater recently. No shot. No shot. No sir. No way. No way. Keep Rachaad White. No way. Higgins is trending down in a big way. Rachaad White is trending up. So I would not do that. Rico, glad to see you're 9-1, man. Happy to hear it. It's good to see you, man. You're down. You have Andrews and Boyd. Boy. Damn, that did not work out. That sucks. Sorry, man. Andrews himself gets hurt. Burrow gets hurt, so Boyd gets completely screwed. Dude. Between Jerome Ford or Trey McBride, the upside with McBride. I think it might be. I think the upside is with Trey McBride, and you might as well swing for the fences because you had two dud performances from Thursday night that you can't do anything about. I think McBride is your upside play, and I think that's where I would go. McBride is your upside play, and that's where I would go. That's what I would do. Ford should be okay. He's going to get volume. I just don't know how much I trust. Like, let me see a game of the Browns offense with Dorian Thompson-Robinson before I go back to them. Like Amari Cooper, you might have no choice. You might have to fire up. Everybody else, I gotta see that offense first. Meanwhile, McBride is in a potential shootout with Arizona traveling to Houston. Those are two good offenses. I would play McBride. McBride's on a bit more of a heater. Ford's been good, but yeah, now he's down to Deshaun Watson. And yeah, I'm fine with starting both of those Cardinals. I expect a lot of points to be scored in Cardinals-Texans. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. Bad defenses, good offenses. I'm fine firing guys up in that game. Yeah, Connor's a fine start. McBride's a fine start. Go for it. Let's see. Where are we at? I need to see an update on that Jordan Travis injury against North Alabama. Hopefully he's all right, or Florida State's in trouble for the college football playoff. Traded Purdy and Gabe for Nico and Lawrence, but you have Stroud and Fields. Okay, so you turned Gabe. So you essentially turned Gabe. I mean, you got some more. You got some more quarterback depth that you didn't necessarily need, but you turned Gabe into Nico. I'm okay with that. Nico's got to, I mean, Gabe has Josh Allen throwing him the ball, so that's good. But Stroud is no slouch right now, and Nico, at least when healthy, we can expect more likely than Gabe Davis to be his team's wide receiver one. Gabe Davis is not his team's wide receiver one because Stephon Diggs is in Buffalo. Nico, even though with the emergence of Tank Dell, Nico is the Texans' wide receiver one, and Stroud looks great. I'm good with that trade. I'm good with that trade. But you should look to, I mean, I would look to trade one of those quarterbacks, though. You don't need three. You know, you don't need three. You don't need three. And Metcalf or Hollywood Crumbly Heads? Metcalf. Tyler Lockett's on the injury report. Metcalf's due for a bounce back. It's a good matchup. I would play Metcalf. He's the better player. Hollywood's in a great spot, but Metcalf is the better player. Give me Metcalf. All right, back up to the top. Would I trade Herbert for Chase? You have Love. Ugh. The Bengals are a tough sell right now, man. Chase is awesome. He's excellent. But, dude, Burrow being done for the year, absolutely. It crushes that offense's ceiling. And Herbert's playing well. Herbert's pretty good. I don't want to pivot to Jordan Love for Justin Herbert. I see your wide receivers. You could certainly use an upgrade. I don't know if that's how I want to do it, though. Chase is awesome, but, I mean, now we're down to Jake Browning for the rest of the year. You already have T. Higgins in a lost season for him, even if he gets healthy. Nah, I can't bring myself to do that. I can't bring myself to do that. I think I say no. Yeah, it's too tough to trust the Bengals offense for like moving forward. Yeah, Metcalf, Crumbly hits, and then Sutton or Hollywood. Sutton's got the Vikings. Hollywood has the Texans. I think that's where I say Marquise Brown. I'll take Marquise Brown. I expect him to get more targets this week than he did last week in a game that where there should be lots of points. There should be lots of scoring. I trust the Cardinals offense with Kyler back a little bit more than the Broncos, even though they have been playing a little bit better. I trust the Cardinals offense a little bit more, especially in this matchup. There should be a lot of points scored. I'll take Metcalf over Hollywood, but Hollywood over Sutton for me. Let's see. Ridley or Singletary at the flex. Singletary, no question. Singletary is an elite play this week. Should be a locked and loaded RB1. Great matchup against Arizona. No Dameon Pierce. The Houston offense is humming. Should be a good amount of points scored in that game. Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary. For sure. And then Derrick Henry or McBride. See, again, it's like I can't advise playing. I know that McBride looks great right now. I get it. He looks awesome. I cannot advise starting Trey McBride over Derrick Henry. I can't do it. Henry hasn't been like God mode Derrick Henry every single week this year, but he's still been pretty damn good. And I know it's not a great matchup against the Jaguars tomorrow, but historically, Derrick Henry kills the Jaguars. Like week one, over 100 scrimmage yards of offense for Derrick Henry. Week two, 80 and a touchdown. Week three was bad on the road against Cleveland. Not a big surprise. Week four, 120 yards and a touchdown. Week five wasn't great. Again, he has had a few more duds this year than he usually does. Week six, 97 yards and a touchdown. Tough matchup against Baltimore. 100 yards, 120 total scrimmage yards week eight, 75 and a touchdown week nine. He had a bad game against week 10. I would go back to the well with Derrick Henry. I know Trey McBride's on a heater, but I think you got to play Derrick Henry. You got to play Derrick Henry. Yeah, got to play Derrick Henry. I can't advise playing Trey McBride over Derrick Henry. All right, where are we at here? Half PPR. Trade Kincaid and Jacobs for Amon-Ra. You have McBride. You've got running back depth, and so you could use a wide receiver. I guess what I'm ultimately getting at here. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with that move. Amon-Ra is excellent, man. He's so good. Yeah, I am fine with that. I'm fine with that trade for sure. I'm fine with that trade for sure. Yep. If you have the running backs, you can feel like you can if you feel like you can part ways with Jacobs because you like your backfield and you can pick up Amon-Ra, I'm good with that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, or Noah Brown. I think Noah Brown got ruled out. Questionable. But he hasn't practiced this week. I wouldn't touch that. I wouldn't touch Noah Brown. Um Between Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore, I think you just got to go Rondale Moore and hope for the best. At least it's a good matchup, and Rondale has his quarterback. Elijah Moore is in not a great matchup, and he's catching passes from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I don't know what that's going to look like. Rondale. I would play Rondale. I'm not messing with Noah Brown after missing practice all week, and I'm not messing with Elijah Moore catching passes from a rookie before I see what it looks like. Rondale. Brees Hall for Rashad White. So this is okay. I mean, who would I rather have? That's about as close as it gets. Brees Hall is the better player, but he is in a tough situation for the rest of this season. Rashad White is not in a great situation, and he's not as good of a player, but he catches the ball a lot more. What is the scoring of that league? The Brees Hall for Rashad White. What is the scoring in that league? It's tough for me. If it's full PPR, I might say pull the trigger. If it's half PPR or standard scoring, I think I would keep Brees. But if it's full PPR, there's an argument, there's a justification for preferring and wanting Rachaad White over Breece Hall. Rachaad White is on a heater right now. It's full PPR. There's an argument for, yeah, like, okay, grab Rachaad White. He's a better option because he catches the ball at like a top 3 rate at the position in the league, up there with McCaffrey and Kamara. White has at least 2 catches in every game. That's just the baseline. He has 3 catches in 7 of 9 games. And he has 5 catches he has at least 5 catches in 3 games. His past 4 games, he's cleared 40 yards receiving in all of them. He went for 65 and 70 in 2 of them. And in a third game where he went under 50 yards receiving, he still was over 40 and he caught a touchdown last week. Rachaad White's floor has become incredibly safe, especially in full PPR leagues, because he's catching the ball at a really strong rate. Yeah, I'm okay with flipping in full PPR. If this was half PPR or standard, I would say keep Breece. But because it's full PPR, I am okay flipping Rachaad White for Breece Hall. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Ayuk or Thielen, you got to go Ayuk. You got to go Ayuk. I know Adam Thielen has had his wide receiver 1 weeks, and now Frank Reich is calling the plays again. And when Frank Reich was calling the plays was when Adam Thielen was putting up wide receiver 1 numbers. But Brandon Ayuk at this stage of their careers is a better player. Brock Purdy is playing better football, hands down, than Bryce Young is. It's a better situation for Ayuk. It's not a scary matchup against the Tampa Bay Bucks. In fact, quite the opposite. It's a top 5 matchup for opposing wide receivers. I got to say Ayuk. I got to say Ayuk. Carolina gets the Cowboys. That's not a good spot. I would. Nah, I'm playing Ayuk. I'm playing Ayuk over Thielen for sure. McBride could be a league winner, Bobby. He could. Mark Andrews down for the count. Dallas Goedert is going to miss extended time. Basically, if you don't have Kelsey, Hawkinson, if you don't have Kelsey, Hawkinson, Kittle, or Laporta, I guess Kincaid is still in that conversation, but like it's interchangeable at this point. McBride could end up saving a lot of teams. For anybody who doesn't have Kelsey, who doesn't have Hawkinson, who doesn't have Kittle, who doesn't have Laporta, because Andrews is gone, Goddard is missing time, Pitts hasn't been spectacular, Engram hasn't been spectacular, Waller is on IR, and it's looking like, and even if he comes back, I mean, now you're down to Tommy DeVito for the job. Like McBride might be not just he's a lifesaver for a lot of teams. Lifesaver for a lot of teams. Amari Cooper, Rachaad White, or Cortland Sutton in half PPR. I think you got to go Rachaad White. Even though it's a bad matchup. He is catching the ball a ton. The Bucks are not going to be able to run it against the 49ers, but so they're going to be throwing, but Rachaad White stays involved as a pass catcher. Cooper is really good, but he now suffers a big downgrade going to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And Sutton has been steady, but he doesn't have the same ceiling that Rashad White has. I'm taking the running back, especially in half PPR. I'm going Rashad White. Cooper, we need to see what this Browns offense looks like with Dorian Thompson-Robinson before we could go back to the well with pretty much any of them. Unless it's like you're getting crushed by the bye week and you have no other option and you have to turn to a guy like Jerome Ford or Amari Cooper. Other than that, if you've got viable alternatives, you want to use them. This Browns offense is, we got to see how it looks. We got to see how it looks. Nico or Darrell Henderson in full PPR. I mean, I really like this spot for Darrell Henderson. Seahawks are getting gashed by opposing running backs. And while I like the matchup for Nico Collins against Arizona, you figure Henderson is going to continue to operate as the lead guy for the Rams one more week, and it could not be a better matchup. The Seahawks are giving up the most points to opposing running backs in fantasy the past 4 weeks, and I'm pretty sure they're a top 5 matchup on the season in general. Henderson in the flex over Nico. Let's see. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. Hall, Swift, Pollard, Javonte, Wilson, Puka, Devontae Smith. And you need upside. Well, you got to play Breece Hall. I know that the Jets are tough to trust, but you have to play Breece Hall. I would say, given the matchup, you also have to play Tony Pollard. Those are your 2 running backs. You have to play Pollard. I know Pollard has been lackluster this year, but he has to be able to come through against the Carolina Panthers. That's a great matchup for him. He has to be able to come through. So those are your running backs, Hall and Pollard. Swift is interesting, but he doesn't have the same ceiling as those guys because he doesn't get goal line touches or short yardage touches. That all goes to Jalen Hurts. So give me Hall, give me Pollard as your running backs. Your wide receivers. Wilson has the Bills. Puka has the Seahawks. Devontae Smith has the Chiefs in what could be a shootout. I would go. Let's see. I would play all 3 receivers because you have the 2 flex spots. I would put Garrett Wilson and Puka in your 2 wide receiver spots, and I would put Devontae Smith in one of your flex spots because it's Monday night. And then it's between Javonte Williams and DeAndre Swift. Williams at home. Oh, Jordan Travis was carted off with a leg injury. Damn. Dude, you hate to see that. Jordan Travis for the 4th ranked Florida State carted off with a leg injury. That's gonna you're hoping for the best. That scene didn't look great though that they just showed. They just showed the replay on ESPN. The not the injury itself, but the scene after it happened, that didn't look good. That didn't look good. Hopefully he's all right. Hall, Pollard, running backs. Javonte is in one of your flex spots. I'll give the edge to Javonte because he does receive red zone and goal line work. Swift doesn't. And then Wilson, Puka in your 2 wide receiver spots. Devontae Smith in your second flex because he plays Monday night. Oh, hey, losers, thank you for the super. That was very kind of you. Much appreciated. Supers jump the line for anybody who is just joining me. You don't have to send one, but it is very generous of you. So thank you very much. So I will jump the line for that question and then come back up to the top. Let's see. You got Chase, ceiling capped. Amon-Ra, nice. Debo, nice. Rice, okay, good. Pacheco, Swift, Henry, okay, solid at running back. Logan Thomas, Goddard, Musker, a lot of tight ends. Would I trade Chase for Pittman and Kincaid? Man. We have to downgrade Chase for the rest of the season, even though he's awesome. We have to downgrade Chase for the rest of the season because Joe Burrow is done for the year. Pittman has been fine. Pittman has been fine with Gardner Minshew. He's been good with Gardner Minshew. Kincaid, I mean, you got a lot of tight ends. You definitely don't need all those tight ends. I guess my thing is, my suggestion would be if you're looking for a tight end upgrade, well, first of all, I would play Musgrave tomorrow against the LA Chargers. The Chargers are getting absolutely killed by opposing tight ends. So you can stream Musgrave. You can stream Musgrave tomorrow with all kinds of confidence. For the season, yeah, you'd rather have Kincaid. You'd rather have Kincaid than any of those other tight ends. My question for you, Lucius, would be this. If you make that trade, can you make a corresponding trade to flip either Goddard or Logan Thomas or maybe even Musgrave for some more wide receiver depth? I guess the name to flip here would be Goddard because even though he's hurt, he has name recognition. He has appeal as a guy who was drafted to be a top 10 tight end. Could you flip Goddard to, say, a top team in the league, one of the top teams in the league by record? They can sit and wait on Goddard and give you some extra wide receiver depth for giving up Chase. That would be my question. Could you make that happen? Like the guy who has Mark Andrews the person who has Mark Andrews in your league, would they be interested in acquiring one of those tight ends? Maybe Freiermuth because he's available now, or, if he's willing to wait, or if they're willing to wait on Goddard until he's able to return, could you get some wide receiver depth from that person? If you can get some extra wide receiver depth to supplant the loss of Chase, I'm more open to it. I'm not crazy about it because of how great Chase is. But obviously, yes, his appeal for the rest of the season is lessened. His ceiling is capped without Joe Burrow. But you do have Amon-Ra, stud. You have Debo, stud. You have Rice, been a pretty good player. If you want to move off of Chase because of concern with the Bengals offense and pick up Pittman and Kincaid, I am okay with it if you can turn one of those other tight ends that you have into depth somewhere else, whether it's another depth wide receiver or, hell, maybe even a depth running back, because you only listed 3 running backs. So if you can get a depth running back for one of those tight ends, even if it's like a Tajay Spears type to handcuff to Derrick Henry, or a Kenny Gainwell, or a Jerick McKinnon if he's available, even if you turn like Logan Thomas into like Tajay Spears or something like that. Like if you acquire Kincaid, take one of the other tight ends and turn it into running back or wide receiver depth. If you can do that, if you can do both of those trades, then I'm okay with it. Because you got to get rid of some of those tight ends if you acquire Kincaid. But I think I'm okay with that trade. If you can turn one of those other tight ends into some more depth somewhere else, whether it's another wide receiver or a running back. But appreciate the super. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. I got Arx's question for the 2, 2, and 2. Would I trade Ford for Connor? I think I might. I think I would. I think I would, because now that the Browns are down to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and I just don't know what that offense looks like rest of season. At least Connor has Kyler back for however long. And Connor has proven to be good without Kyler Murray in the event that Kyler Murray doesn't, finish the rest of the season for whatever reason. Whether the Cardinals protect him with their with the playoffs out of reach or whatever eventually. And they rest him and get ready for 2024. Even if they do, Connor has been good without Kyler in the lineup. I don't know if Ford will be good without Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, I would make that trade. If I'm acquiring Connor, I would make that trade. Yes. And Nino, got your question. I think, yeah, I would. I am okay. If you are comfortable with it, that's what I always tell people. You be comfortable with the move first and foremost, or whatever decision it is you're making, because it is your team. If you're comfortable giving up Breece Hall for Rachaad White in full PPR, I am okay signing off on that for you. I think Rachaad White it's close, but I have give that slight nod to Rachaad in full PPR. Nico Collins or Garrett Wilson? Wilson. He has been pretty good this year. Even with the loss of Aaron Rodgers, Wilson has still been pretty good. He is a stud. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Bills. Tre'Davious White out for the year. Their secondary has not been as strong. Give me Garrett Wilson. I like the Houston Texans matchup tomorrow against the Cardinals. I think that there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game, but straight up, Garrett Wilson versus Nico. Give me Wilson. Give me Wilson. Malcolm Brown or Devontae Smith? Who the hell is Malcolm Brown? Malcolm Brown's not even in the league anymore. Is he? He's a free agent. That's either a typo or unless that's Marquise Brown. Either way, Devontae Smith. That's even if it's Marquise, but Devontae Smith. Give me the guy catching passes from Jalen Hurts in a potential shootout against the Chiefs. Smith. Yeah. I don't know. If that's Marquise Brown, I give me Devontae Smith over him for sure. Bijan or Jamar Chase rest of season in half PPR? Oh, dude. I mean, I guess Bijan. It's not as slam dunk of an answer because of how frustrating Bijan's usage is in Atlanta's offense. That being said, Chase's ceiling is capped with the loss of Joe Burrow. Bijan doesn't need to rely necessarily on really good quarterback play to come through, given the position. Chase is excellent and a better player than Bijan Robinson, but as a wide receiver, you're reliant on your quarterback to play well to maximize your ceiling. Chase's ceiling left with the injury to Joe Burrow. I guess I would say Bijan. Yeah, I'll say Bijan. It's not like a slam dunk again because of how frequently the Falcons rotate Tyler Algier in and how frequently they rotate in all these random ancillary pieces like Jonnu Smith and Van Jefferson and Kadero Hodge. They get all these other random dudes involved, but at least Bijan is not as reliant on good quarterback play to be able to come through. I'll give the slight nod to Bijan in half PPR with Chase having lost Burrow. Start Kincaid or Godwin at the flex. That's interesting. Godwin's got the 49ers. It's not a great matchup, but they should have to throw. The Bucks should have to throw. Kincaid gets the Jets at home. Not a great matchup. Not a great matchup, but he's catching passes from Josh Allen, so it could be worse. I think I would go Godwin. He doesn't have, obviously Baker Mayfield is not on Josh Allen's level, but Godwin is a rock solid player still. It's actually a really good matchup by the numbers. The 49ers do give up points to opposing wide receivers, and the Bucks are going to have to throw all day because they don't run the ball well against anybody. They're definitely not running well against the 49ers, who are defending home turf. The Bucks are going to have to throw all damn game. And while Kincaid is he might be a little bit more of a floor play. If you want to try to play it safe, you could go Kincaid, but it's not as good of a matchup. And Godwin, I just need to go with, I tend to go with the wide receiver or the running back in a vacuum over a tight end. And Godwin is that accomplished enough of a player where it's like, I feel fine suggesting Godwin as maybe your upside play. Maybe the floor is a little lower in a tough matchup. On the whole, like the Bucks, obviously it's a mismatch on paper between the 49ers and the Bucks as a team, but the Bucks wide receivers have a good individual matchup against the 49ers secondary. So I'll give the slight nod to Godwin as the upside play. Kincaid could be fine as a floor play if you feel like you can play it safe against your opponent. Otherwise, I think I would say Godwin. And Darrell Henderson is available on waivers. I want to pick him up for this week if you can, but I'm not playing him over Rachaad White. No. Rachaad White's floor as a pass catcher makes him incredibly safe. And I think it's just Rachaad White's a better player at this point than Darrell Henderson is. It's a great matchup for Darrell Henderson, but Rachaad White is the better player. And his floor is pretty safe as a pass catcher. So if you can pick him up, great. But I would still play Rachaad White. What's going on, Steven? Good to see you, man. Appreciate the super. Very kind of you. Not necessary, but much appreciated. You played Andrews. Ugh. Yeah, Andrews is gonna hurt people this week. Adams, Collins, Dell, Henderson, H.M. McBride. Would I play Henderson over Kincaid? So if you need Adams is a floor play, but if you need upside, you might want to actually just pivot off of him this week. Nico is more of an upside play. Tank Dell is a better play than Davante Adams. I think Tank Dell has to be in there. Achane is the one who is tough to chart. It is his first game back from being activated off of IR. Achane's tough to chart, but obviously he is a huge upside play. He's going to be probably all or nothing in this game. And if you feel like you can, if you're willing to eat a potential low floor in exchange for what Achane's ceiling is, he's the upside play. I would say play everybody but Adams. How wild is it that we're here with Davante Adams? I would say play everybody over Davante Adams. I would play both Texans wide receivers in a potential shootout. I mean, man, am I really suggesting to play Davante Adams or play Tank Dell and Nico Collins over Davante Adams? I think I would. If you're looking for upside, if you feel like you need upside, and because of Mark Andrews, getting hurt and having a low output, you think you need to play, you need to swing for the fences. I would say that your plays are everybody but Adams. Adams had a good game last week, I believe. 6 catches for 86 yards. He did. That was at home against the Jets. Tough matchup, but he did come through. I feel like Adams is the guy to avoid this week. It's not a tough matchup, and he's obviously going to be the focal point. The Dolphins are not a bad matchup for opposing wide receivers. They're around middle of the pack. Man, I think I would just sit. I can't believe I'm here. I think I would sit Adams if you're looking for all upside. And I think you can find all upside in all of those other plays. As far as Henderson over Kincaid, um, in half PPR, really like Henderson's matchup. He's not a stellar play. He's not a stellar player, Henderson. Um, but I think I prefer him to Kincaid because of the matchup. Henderson's not great. There's a non-zero chance guys like Royce Freeman randomly mix in a little bit more than you can expect, but I think Henderson is the best player in this backfield until Kyron Williams comes back, and it is a spectacular matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. I would play Henderson over Kincaid. So if you're looking for upside, I would play those 5 guys other than Devontae Adams. I can't believe that's where we are, but that's where we are. And I would play Henderson over Kincaid. It is a beautiful matchup for Darrell Henderson against the Seahawks. They are giving up the most production against running backs the past 4 weeks, and on the season, they're a top 5 matchup. So sit Adams and sit Kincaid over and play Henderson over Kincaid. Yep. Appreciate the Superman. Hopefully that helps. Very kind of you. Thank you so much, and good to see you. Gibbs or Achane? I would go Gibbs. I love, Achane is, and he's like the bee's knees, right? I don't even know what else to call him. He is the most exciting, intriguing, enticing player in a long time. But Jahmyr Gibbs is officially a stud on a heater and playing in a great matchup against the Chicago Bears at home. I think him and David Montgomery will continue to feast all year long. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs over Achane for sure. Laporta or Evan Ingram? Give me Laporta. Laporta's been better. The Jags are struggling on offense, and Zay Jones might return for them tomorrow. That would cap Evan Ingram even further. Excuse me. Addison or Ridley? I'll take Addison. He's going to operate as the wide receiver 1 yet again, and he's been better than Calvin Ridley this year. He's at least been more consistent than Calvin Ridley this year. Wow, excuse me. I'm good, but I don't know. Maybe allergies are kicking a little bit for me. Gibbs over Achane, Laporta over Ingram, Addison over Ridley. Now, this one is the interesting one between Kyler and Tua. It's a great matchup. As far as expected points scored, I think the Cardinals and the Texans are in for a potential shootout. Houston's a middle-of-the-road matchup for opposing quarterbacks. The Raiders are actually, by the numbers, not a great matchup for opposing quarterbacks. Nevertheless, you throw that type of stuff out the window when you're talking about the Dolphins' offense and how good they are. I got to take a look at this on the app because the Sleeper app does a much better job showing and indicating like the where certain players finish as far as performance on a per game basis at their position. 2 of the past 4 weeks has been the QB 15. That was against Kansas City in Germany. The QB 9 in week 8 against New England. He was the QB 22 on the road against the Eagles and the QB 3 against Carolina. Tua has been the QB 12 or better in every home game this year. He's got a home game against Vegas, so that's a good sign. Kyler, we only have 1 game to work off of, and that was last week. And at home against the Falcons, he was the QB 13. I think I give the slightest of nods to Tua. Dolphins are a better team. and he has better weapons top to bottom than Kyler does. As Trey McBride's breakout is great, Marquise Brown is a really good player. Tua throws the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. We've got a lot of really strong performances from Tua this year. He's been good at home. Yes, I expect a lot of points to be scored between the Texans and the Cardinals, but we only have one game sample size from Kyler Murray. He was the QB 13, so he just missed out on being a QB 1. Still working his way back. I'll take Tua coming off his bye week at home. So Gibbs over Achane, Laporta over Ingram, Addison over Ridley, Tua slightly over Kyler. Slightly. Davis or Cooper? Can you not play can you not play Henderson and Singletary? I guess it's not a 2 flex spots or whatever. Or a running back and a flex. Davis is in an awful matchup. Davis is in an awful matchup against the Jets. Cooper is in a bad situation with the rookie quarterback, but it's a better situation against the Steelers. I would take Cooper. Gabe is a touchdown boomer bust. Gabe is a touchdown dependent boom bust wide receiver 3. Cooper is a low ceiling, sort of low floor-ish, but maybe still a decent floor wide receiver 2 with not a lot of upside. I give the slightest of nods to Cooper as far as 2 less than ideal plays. As far as your running back question, the answer is Devin Singletary. If you can only play one running back between those 3 guys, the answer is Devin Singletary. He is an elite option this week. RB1 upside at home. Great matchup against the Cardinals. Dameon Pierce is out. Singletary over Henderson. Singletary over Najee. No question. If there's any chance you could play Henderson over those 2 wide receivers, I would do it. But if you can't, then I would play Devin Singletary and Amari Cooper. And Laporta over Kincaid, yes. Yes, Laporta has been, with Mark Andrews gone for the year, Laporta has ascended to an easy top 5 tight end any given week. I'll take Laporta. Great matchup against the Bears. Kincaid's got a slightly tougher matchup against the Jets. Yes, Laporta over Kincaid. We are at the end of the chat. I will hang around a bit longer. Again, apologies. This is my second live stream link tonight. My first one crapped out and froze. I haven't seen Adam jump back in. Hopefully he got my message because he did send me a super, and I feel terrible that if he missed my answer to his question. And I'm sure some questions from the previous stream didn't quite make it over here. So apologies for the technical issues. I will hang around for a bit longer in case there are any other questions that pop up between now and the end of the stream. Just as an FYI, I will be traveling for the holidays, so I will not be available tomorrow. You can hit the Discord, second link in the description of this live stream and all the videos on my channel. If you're not in the Discord, evergreen invite members do receive a little extra attention in there. Again, another member perk. If you are interested, that's the first link in the description of all of the videos on this channel for more details there. But you can answer questions, or you can ask questions in the Discord. You can ask questions in the form of a comment on any of my videos, including this live stream. I will be available here and there throughout the week, this coming week, but I will be traveling, so there won't be any live streams this week. I will be available on a here and there basis. If you ask questions, if you have any questions, if you want to ask them in the form of a comment on a video, you are free to do that. But I will be not available for streams this week. I'll be available Sunday. Not tomorrow, but the following Sunday for week 12. I'll be available for that, but I won't be available this coming Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. Thursday is Thanksgiving holiday. And Saturday will be when I'm making my return flight home. But I will be available next Sunday for the ahead of the week of week 12. You'll be able to catch me for start sit help that morning. So I will stick around. I'll hang around for a bit longer. In the event that anybody who missed out on the opportunity to get their question answered in the first stream eventually make it back in here. I can stick around for a couple more minutes. If there are no other questions, I'll shut this down in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out today. Appreciate the engagement, the patience. See, I got a few new subs. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And of course, the supers. Adam, first and foremost, I really hope he saw the answer to my question. I feel terrible that my first stream crapped out as soon as he sent the super. Hopefully he was able to see the answer to my question. Bobby, appreciate it. Bobby from England, appreciate the supers. Very kind of you. Lucius and Steven as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate the support of the stream. Again, one more time, I'm usually available for Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday streams. I will not be on for streams this week. Traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday. I can be available here and there if you guys want to ask questions in the form of a comment on any video over the course of the week or of any stream over the course of the week this week for week 12 help and help specifically for the Thanksgiving games between Packers Lions. Great matchup for I'll just give you a quick Thanksgiving preview. Great matchup for the Lions running backs on Thanksgiving. That's the matchup against the Packers. The Packers are getting crushed by opposing running backs. So Gibbs and Montgomery continue to fire those guys up. Cowboys Commanders, that's a tough spot for all of your Commanders. Not a great matchup, but they will have to throw. So Howell is a low-end QB1, high-end QB2. Maybe more on the high-end QB2 because it's a bad matchup. You probably start all of your Cowboys, including Tony Pollard, in another good matchup against Washington. And then the night game is the 49ers and the Seahawks in Seattle. Man, that's a great spot for Christian McCaffrey playing that Seahawks run defense. Tough spot for Kenneth Walker, but you probably have to fire him up. Tough spot. Not as bad a spot by the numbers for DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett if he's healthy. If he's not, Smith and Jigba gets a boost. And then, of course, it's a good spot as well for, you're starting your 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and then McCaffrey. Good spot for Goff against the Packers. Tough spot for the Packers offense. It's not, Lions have a good run defense. Tough spot for Aaron Jones. And the Packers pass catchers are difficult to trust in a tough matchup on the road, especially with how Jordan Love has been playing recently. So that's a quick look at the Thanksgiving games. Real quick, overview in general. Again, I should be around in the morning of Thanksgiving to answer any questions ahead of the Thanksgiving games. Not in the form of a live stream, but go ahead and find any video on this channel you can hit in the form of a comment. You can ask a question in the form of a comment on any video. In full PPR between Breece, Achane, and Tank Dell, you got a bench one. I guess I would wait on Achane for a week. You have to play Breece. I think at this point, Tank Dell has done enough to garner another start in a great matchup. The Cardinals don't give up a ton of points by the numbers to opposing wide receivers, but I don't care. I expect a lot of points to be scored in this matchup. CJ Stroud is playing great. The Texans are at home. Houston's pass catchers should be just fine tomorrow. Achane is the super enticing, intriguing option, but he's coming back first game from IR. He's a great option rest of season, but let's give it if I have really good options to turn to, like Breece and Tank Dell, let's give it a week. Let's wait a week on Achane before we fire him back up into our starting lineup. It's a great matchup, but first game back off IR, I'll play Breece and Tank Dell, and I'll wait 1 week on Achane. By week 12, we'll probably be firing Achane back up into our lineups. But if I have good options like those, I will wait a week. Yeah, ETN's good. Amon-Ra's a stud. Obviously, Chase didn't do much with Burrow's injury and Burrow going down. Brees and Tank Dell are fine as other options for you to work with tomorrow. I'll play Brees and Tank Dell. Herbert or Darrell Henderson? I'll go Henderson. Great matchup against the Seahawks. Seahawks are getting killed by opposing running backs. Herbert, I don't know what Herbert's role looks like with him coming back from IR. With Donta Foreman is, I think, expected to play. He was on the injury report with an ankle injury. What's the latest on him? Either way, I don't feel spectacular about Khalil Herbert, especially in that matchup against the Lions. Give me Henderson in a great matchup against the Seahawks. If Foreman is out, that might change things a little bit. You might want to pivot to Khalil Herbert, but Henderson is in a spectacular matchup. The best matchup a running back can ask for, which is the Seattle Seahawks. So I think I would go Henderson. As far as your flex, I would go Hopkins. Not a great matchup against Jacksonville, but it's an awful matchup for Deontay against Cleveland on the road. And I don't trust Jacoby Myers with Aiden O'Connell. I don't. A lot of Myers' value was tied to Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll take DeAndre Hopkins. Treylon Burks is out again. Hopkins should see a ton of targets. Deontay should see targets as well, but Cleveland's defense is brutal. That's a bad matchup. Hopkins. I'll flex Hopkins. All right, we are at the end of the chat. I will in the next couple of minutes stick around in case there are anybody who didn't get their question answered in the first stream, if they're able to find their way back in here now, hopefully. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody, but appreciate everybody navigating that as I had to fire up a new stream. But we are at the end of the chat. Again, I will be traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday. Everybody have a spectacular holiday. Eat well, drink well if you choose to. Hopefully it's with family time or however you're spending it. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully it's a fun one. Everybody have a safe, fun week. Best of luck in your games tomorrow. I will be traveling. So if it's I might be available in the morning before my flight, but it's not looking super likely. And I might be slow to respond. So hopefully everybody's got their lineup situated prior to the slate tomorrow. That will do it for me tonight, though, everybody. Again, thank you guys for the supers, the engagement, the patience, and the questions. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate all of you. Thankful for all of you guys. This is the time of year to remember to be thankful, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys coming in and spending part of your evening with me tonight. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Best of luck tomorrow. I will be back streaming live, not tomorrow, but next Sunday ahead of week 12, probably around 11 a.m. Eastern. So you can catch me for a little bit ahead of the week 12 slate. But I will be off from live streams the rest of this week, traveling for the holidays. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the week, and I will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.